Hi guys, this is Nick from MBS. John and I interviewed our coach, Ben McCarthy, who is the director of coaching for the Lionville Soccer Club and a coach at the Olympic Development Program in Eastern Pennsylvania. We'll be asking him a few questions about his background and giving you behind-the-scenes access of what it's like being a coach. Where did you play soccer when you were younger, and what was it like?
I played soccer, obviously in Manchester, where I'm from a really early age. There's pictures of me kicking a ball around when I was like 3-4 years of age. There was always a ball in the house. Soccer's so huge. Football so huge in England. Everyone plays it, and I think I just always started kicking a ball around from just a very, very early age. Obviously started playing in school a little bit more, and because I always kicked the ball around when I was like 4, 5, 6, by the time I was 7, 8 and 9 I was actually pretty good. I had some good skills, and I'd want to be out there on the playground and there'd be 100 kids all wanting to play football at the same time, and I'd be all about it, right in the middle of it, and trying to do some moves and score some goals and have some fun. And obviously from there it picked up a little bit. I wanted something a little bit more. My parents got me into playing for my local travel club, Fletcher Moss Rangers. Started playing for them when I was about 7. I think I played up 2 years to begin with, because I was just so young. And because I played up and I was the younger kid, I kind of just fell into playing like left back. So it was kind of different, because I was always had the ball at my feet and wanting to score the goals in school, and then all of a sudden for my travel club I started like having this different responsibility and playing in a different position, but it was good because I was the younger kid. It allowed me to develop some confidence and then grow with it, and before I knew it I was at my true age, being the captain of my team. And for the next 10 years or so I played for Fletcher Moss Rangers, and we just went, it was just the greatest experience. And we travelled around Europe, and we won various competitions, and had various different successes and failures along the way, but it's fantastic. But yeah, from an early age I always kicked the ball around. One of my earliest memories actually was the 1990 World Cup. So yeah, I would have only been 6 or 7 at that point. And watching England get beat on penalties and having the World Cup ball with all the flags on the ball, and I always, whenever a World Cup came around, I always wanted like a little soccer ball with all the flags on it. That's how I learned a lot of flags from countries as well and stuff like that. Like probably you guys are learning more about the world because of your soccer, your interest in soccer. But yeah, the World Cup, having a soccer ball at my feet from an early age, my parents, or my dad specifically, loving Man City and soccer, and the love of the game was born.
To add on, what is your favorite team to watch and support?
Well, it's quite obvious, isn't it, boys? No, Manchester City has played a huge part of my life. Like my dad, he even told the story to me 2 days ago, and I'm like, Dad, I know I told a player who'd asked me about this the other day, and he tells this story of my mum going out for whatever reason, and him babysitting, and I don't know how old I was, but the way he describes it, he could fit me in his coat. So he took me to a Man City game whilst he was supposed to be babysitting me. I don't think my mum knew at the time. Well, she probably know now. He's proud of that story. So I think my dad always went to the games. As soon as I was old enough to go with him, I always started going to the games, sat in the North Stand, singing City songs, and just going, meeting friends in the pub beforehand, and then walking down the street to the game with all the fans, singing songs, and stopping at 1 or 2 pubs on the way and just soaking in the atmosphere. My love of Manchester City was born, and City might kind of be a global powerhouse now in the game, but they never used to be. They were always a yo-yo team, so they might come up one year and go down the next, and you had various different managers. But the support of Mancunians and love for Man City never sort of dwindled. One of our main things was the fact that we could be proud of who we were, regardless of who we were playing and what type of level the team was at, because there was numerous times where the team might have been getting beat, but the fans were getting louder. You know, we got relegated multiple seasons, like, you know, from the top league to the Division 2, 3, and we the support never stopped. You know, so I think the thing with City fans is we're proud of the fact that we were behind the team when the team didn't do so well, and we've come a long way now, obviously with a bit of investment, some really good recruitment, and now we're on the top of the pile right now, as is shown by our record-breaking Premier League winning, most points, most goals scored, and just our all-round soccer dominance in England right now.
Why did you become a soccer coach? What do you think was the turning point?
So I always, growing up, like, I had volunteer coaches, and, you know, people put a lot of time into soccer back home, and, you know, I always loved it, and like I said, I was captain, so I kind of took on a responsibility when I was younger to want to lead and to want to organise, and, you know, not only was I the guy lifting up the trophies, I was the guy who took sort of the responsibility to say to all the lads in practice, like, sort your act out, come on, let's do this. Don't get me wrong, I was a bit of a boy myself, and I could argue with the coaches every now and again, but, you know, I think that whatever I was learning back then from my coaches sort of was embedded in me and just made me sort of want to coach. But as I went through school, high school, I done sports science. I chose sports science as one of my subjects that I would, study more in depth. And within that, I could do a project. It's like a little piece of coursework, probably similar to this. And I chose to run a girls' soccer team, and we had no girls' soccer teams in the school at that point. So I worked with our phys ed teacher to come up with a program where I run like this after school training program for girls who, I think they were like 12, 13 at the time. I might have been 15, 16, and it was great. And I really enjoyed it, and the girls got a lot out of it. And although the program didn't grow, it was just kind of a little thing that I done. I started to look into sports college at that point, and there was a local sports college, Wright Robinson, who expressed an interest in me. Their head coach, or their head phys ed guy, was a scout for Blackburn Rovers at the time, and he saw me playing, and he was like, Ben, we really want to get you over to Blackburn for a trial. It never worked out for whatever reason, but I did end up connecting with him and going and being recruited onto this sports college course. And through that, I would have done 2 years, like, full-on training to be a coach, and, you know, whatever coach it may be, but, you know, it would have been specifically for soccer in my world. But I actually done really well in my school exams, and I decided to follow the more academic route rather than go and follow my passion of becoming a coach. I followed my academic route. It didn't quite work out for me because I think I always had the passion to go that way. And then as I went off this way and working various jobs and studying and stuff, like I worked in a bingo hall, I worked in retail, I worked in construction, demolition. I done lots of various different jobs, and then I started. Someone opened this door for me to go and work in children's homes, and as soon as I started working there, this was about maybe 10 years ago now, as soon as I started working there, I was working in children's homes with kids who were in the care system, and I started to, you know, believe that I could not only help these kids grow as people and turn their lives around and offer them support and just stability, but I could also start to influence them and get them out playing sport, encourage them to be healthy and to eat well and to think about money and stuff like that. And I think that is where my passion for coaching really started, whilst I was working in the children's homes. And then I started getting them all involved in football, and, you know, it was my coaching lifestyle sort of really started then. But then when obviously my beautiful wife moved to America, a few doors were opening. I'd done a couple of licenses back home, and I realised that I could come here and actually pursue it as possibly a career. I loved it from the off, coaching, and I had multiple teams at a local travel soccer club not far from here, and some very positive experiences. At the same time, I was again doing that with my coaching, and then I had to get a proper job as well. So I started working in finance. This was only 3 years ago, and both of them were taking off. Soccer, finance, and I could have had a successful career going both ways, but I had to make a decision, and I decided to drop the corporate job and to 100% pursue a role in coaching for the future. And guys, it was the best decision I ever made. I feel very proud and happy and excited at the future. But ultimately, my full-on decision to become a soccer coach was only 3 years ago. But there's lots of experiences that sort of made that happen.
Who helped you the most become a soccer coach?
Who? That's a tough one. I've had, obviously, like, my dad got me into football from an early age, and my parents always supported my decision making, whatever it may be, whether it be to go and pursue soccer in college, or whether to drop that and pursue academic route. But I think all the past experiences of having volunteer coaches who were put a lot of time and effort into it, and my parents always supporting me, and having good teachers along the way and good people that I could kind of lean on and share experiences with, and even in certain jobs that I've had good bosses and good mentors who you're doing this, but maybe this other thing is for you. I don't think there's any one specific person. Probably my dad, if it was to say anyone, but ultimately I think there's been many people who've helped me along the way. But I think certain things in life, you just got to make a decision and pursue it and follow your dream and your passion. And I think if you give it 100%, you'll really get whatever you want out of life. You just got to give it your all, even though you might be unsure about the decision in the first place. But when you do commit to something, you got to give it your all. Now that I'm starting to study the game a bit more and a little bit more in depth, and I want to broaden my knowledge and think about growth within young people and growth within the sport and certain education and mentoring kids and stuff like that. I started to learn a little bit more, not just about the game, but about people and how I can help them grow. But if I'm looking at the game now from a point of view where I want to improve my knowledge so I can improve my team's knowledge, then I've just got to look at certain coaches that inspire me. And looking back on it, Bobby Robson, who was he was an ex-England manager. He was like the manager of England in the 1990 World Cup I was talking about before. He was a very passionate man. He was very fun to listen to, and he was an excellent sort of beacon of the game in English soccer. Also, Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United head coach, absolutely, legend of a coach. And he, as a City fan, so it was tough for me to say this, and growing up, he was the enemy and all this sort of stuff, and he kind of hated on City a lot. But ultimately, he was the most passionate, outspoken, demanding coach who had some real tough players to deal with. Imagine, Cantona and Keane and Yatstam and Van Nistelrooy, and all these huge characters, and he had to manage them, and every single one of them done what he said, because he was very you know, his results spoke for themselves, and growing up watching Manchester United win everything whilst Man City with a yo-yo team was difficult, but ultimately he's got to be someone that inspires every coach. And then in this day and age, you know, you guys probably know more about Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp than Ferguson and Robson, but you know, the way Pep plays is just, and the way Johan Cruyff instilled a belief to play soccer into him is phenomenal, because it's just so focused on keeping the ball and having possession, and you know, all the things that English soccer was never really about, you know. So I think that opened up a lot of people's eyes, and the success is speaking for itself, both for Manchester City and Liverpool. So guys like that now, you know, they inspire me, you know, and I can't, you know, even at my age now, I'm still really, really like interested in learning from as many different people as possible. So it's just a few names, boys.
Who inspired you, and what inspired you to make that decision to not go to the financing job, but to decide to pursue your career in soccer?
I think personally, for me, it was about the experiences that I'd had here as a coach. I'd had so much positivity and so much positive energy come from parents and from kids who, you know, in just a short space of time, who'd really said, like, listen, Ben, you changed my daughter's life, you changed my son's life. You know, they're so happy doing something that they might not have been that happy about. And I think when you coach kids from maybe 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, 11, 12, you start to see growth in people, and you before you know it, you realise, like, not only are you just coaching here, you're actually mentoring, and you're helping families live positive lives, and people are hugely sort of thankful that you can have an impact like that on their children. And to me, that was one of the main reasons why I had to stick with it and give it my all, because you can't get that from a job, you can't get that from a finance job, you know, or working in the corporate industry. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not, I mean, many people do things like that, and many people do jobs that they just end up falling into, and you know, they have families, and they, you know, they gotta pay for beautiful houses and stuff like that. I mean, you know, it is in everyone's best interest, for, in my opinion, to follow what they're truly passionate about, because then they're going to be at their happiest. You know, whether that happens when they're younger in life or older in life, you know, it remains to be seen for them. But ultimately, it's an individual decision. And I think, to answer that question specifically, it would have to be my wife, because at that point it was like I'd been promoted a couple of times at my corporate role, and I could see, you know, that really stepping up, and I could, you know, earn some good money doing that. And at the time, my soccer career I wouldn't have earned half as what I could have earned here. But to make that decision and go with this at that point, I needed the full-on support from my wife, and she was like, Ben, whatever you need to do, you do. And obviously I spoke to my parents and my family. I left my corporate role in a fantastic position and on good terms, and they said, Ben, we appreciate that you are following your passion. If you ever decide to step away from that again and you need something else, come back and see us, pick up the phone, you know, there'll be a position here for you. So that was nice to hear. But ultimately, like, I needed the full support from my wife and her family in America, and you know, maybe some of them thought, what's he doing, giving up this great job at this great company to just play to coach soccer. But 3 years in now, and it was the best decision I ever made, and the results are speaking for themselves. So sometimes you just gotta dig in and do the best, make the best decision for yourself and your family at the time, and not listen to other people, and just roll with it, and you know, you'll find your way.
Yep. Should we skip this one? Yeah,
Yeah, so I think you should just...
Yeah, I'll do this one.
So our question, well, you don't have to respond to this one because we got in depth. It was like, what were you going to do before becoming a soccer coach? But that that was part of the inspiration. And why did you become a soccer coach?
Yeah, I think it's different though. So like when I was in England, and if I was still in England, like, because I was working in children's homes when I went to Mexico on vacation and met my beautiful bride, and then I moved here to be with her to America. But, if I was still in England, I think I would still be in the care system. Like I'd probably be a manager of children's homes and coaching as well on the side, because I was starting to pursue that at that time as well. So I think I'd be coaching soccer, running teams, but I think I'd really be working in children's homes and working in the care system because I loved it. I loved helping kids, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't always easy. It was very tough job. Lots of tears along the way from kids and mentors and care workers and parents and stuff like that. But it's a very fulfilling job, and I would have definitely, I think, been involved with working with kids back home. So I think that was my passion at that time. And I'm not sure if finance or working in the corporate industry was my passion. So maybe that might not have even worked out, So maybe that's a little add-on.
What did it mean to you to be awarded the National Double Golf Coach Award from the Positive Coaching Alliance this year?
Oh, it was great. It was a great sort of piece of individual recognition, which it was so good because it was players and parents from who I coached 2 or 3 years ago and who I still kind of see and try and help and mentor and do regular work with, and they to know that I was nominated for such a sort of an award that was mainly about instilling positivity in players and and giving them a good experience, and about balancing development with winning, which some coaches find very tough. To me, it's always easy to try and balance the two, because I think it's important that kids not only understand that it is about growth and development as your bodies are growing and as your knowledge is growing, but kids want to win as well, so you balance the two, and I think to find that balance is super important. And to be nominated for such an award was great in terms of individual recognition, but then to win the award was even better. It was a nice feeling to be recognised and have 200 to 300 people reach out and say, "Ben, this is fantastic and well deserved." You don't hear it all the time. You certainly do hear some nice things from people, but you don't always hear it. But to hear it on such a large scale was fantastic. But ultimately, again, no piece of individual award could ever outweigh what the growth and sort of development that I see in players that I coach and guys like yourself who in just a few short years have just grown and become real valued members of not only the team but also our club and the local community, and to get players kicking a ball around makes me feel super proud. And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. If you care about people and making a difference, you balance that in with your passion and love for soccer, I think that's what people respect the most, and long may that continue.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Yes.